Sagittarius. The kingdom you didn't know you were building. There's a certain kind of strength, Sagittarius, that doesn't come from loud victories or grand gestures. It comes quietly, in the silent mornings when you decide to rise again after another sleepless night. In the evenings when you choose to breathe instead of break. You may have thought you were simply surviving, holding yourself together one day at a time, but with each small defiant step, you were laying stones for something greater. You were building a kingdom without even realizing it. What if every heartbreak, every loss, every time you had to start over wasn't a setback at all, but a brick in the foundation of something unshakable? What if every no you spoke in defense of your peace was a wall rising to protect you? And what if one day you turned around and realized that within you stood not a fragile shelter, but a sovereign realm, built from resilience, faith, and self-respect? Astrologically, your journey mirrors the sacred dance between the 4th house, the roots, the home, the sanctuary within, and the 10th house, the legacy you create in the outer world. It is the path from deep, private healing to unshakable, visible strength. Saturn's trials may have felt heavy, but each one demanded you grow steadier. Jupiter's blessings, your cosmic birthright, have been guiding you to expand into the ruler of this inner kingdom. I'm Sophia, your guide here at Zodiac Wisdom. Together, we'll walk through the 4 gates of this journey, from the first hidden stones you laid in silence to the moment you take your seat upon the throne of peace. If you've ever doubted your strength, or wondered whether the struggles were worth it, stay with me until the end. You may just see your life through a new lens. And if you haven't yet, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe so you can journey alongside me, and a community of seekers who believe that the stars don't just describe us, they guide us. Gate 1, laying the first stones. Strength, Sagittarius, is rarely forged in moments of ease. It is born in the quiet, almost invisible decisions you make when no one is watching. In the beginning, you didn't think of yourself as building anything. You were simply trying to survive, protecting your heart, conserving your energy, saying no to situations and people that had already taken too much from you. Yet every one of those no's was more than an act of self-preservation. It was a stone laid down in the foundation of something you could not yet see. Imagine standing in an open field, unsure of where you're going or why you're even standing there. A storm has passed, the ground is damp, and you're exhausted from weathering winds you never thought you could withstand. You bend down, pick up a stone, and place it on the earth, maybe to mark where you've been, maybe to give yourself a sense of direction. You don't know it yet, but you've just begun the walls of your own kingdom. Astrologically, this is Saturn's influence. Saturn, the planet of discipline and structure, often feels like a relentless taskmaster. It demands effort without immediate reward, teaching lessons that sometimes feel more like punishments. For Sagittarius, a sign ruled by Jupiter, craving expansion and freedom, Saturn's constraining energy can feel suffocating. Yet, it is Saturn that ensures the castles you build don't collapse at the first strong wind. It's the one that teaches you to choose with intention, to invest your energy in places that will last. In real life, these stones might have looked like the moment you decided not to answer that phone call from someone who only reaches out when they need something. Or the time you turned down a job offer that looked good on paper but would have drained the joy out of you. Maybe it was as simple as deleting a message draft you knew came from a place of seeking validation rather than truth. I remember working with a Sagittarius woman named Clara, who thought her life was in ruins after leaving a long-term relationship. "I feel like I'm starting from zero," she told me. But as we talked, she began listing the changes she had made since the breakup. How she started cooking for herself again. How she began saying no to last-minute plans that left her depleted. How she created a small morning ritual with tea and journaling. These didn't feel monumental to her, but I pointed out, every one of those actions is a stone. You're not starting from zero. You're laying the groundwork for everything that comes next. What's remarkable is that when you're laying these first stones, you often don't realize their significance. The act of saying no to something harmful is also a yes to your future self. Each choice is both an end and a beginning. Saturn asks you to make these choices consistently, even when they're uncomfortable, even when you can't yet see the results. There is also a humility to this stage. You're not building to impress anyone. There's no need for fanfare because the work is deeply personal. Like a craftsman working in the early morning light, you're not concerned with the final unveiling. You're focused on making sure the structure will stand. And that's why these first stones matter so much. They carry the weight of your principles, your lessons, and your quiet determination. From a spiritual perspective, this is where your fourth house, the roots and foundation, becomes active. It's about creating a safe, stable space within yourself before you can manifest it in the outer world. If the 10th house is the castle's tower that everyone can see, the 4th house is the hidden stonework that keeps it upright. Without it, everything above will crumble. Perhaps the hardest part of this gate is the patience it requires. You might question whether it's worth it to keep saying no, to keep walking away from things that feel familiar but harmful. You might worry that in protecting yourself, you're missing out. But here's what Saturn knows and what you will come to see. Every time you choose self-respect over temporary comfort, you're reinforcing the foundation of a kingdom that will outlast the storms. Think of it like tending to a fire. First, it's just a few sparks. You shield it from the wind, feed it small sticks, and wait for the flames to catch. You can't rush it. But once it's burning, it will warm you for years to come. These first stones are that fire. They are your proof to yourself that you can create something lasting, even from what feels like brokenness. Sagittarius, your instinct may be to leap ahead, to skip to the part where the kingdom is already standing. But every step of your journey depends on the strength of what you build here. And though it may seem slow, know this. There will come a day when you will walk through gates you built with your own 2 hands and realize that every no, every boundary, every act of self-preservation was not an ending. It was the first stone in the walls that now protect your peace. Gate to the walls of boundaries. Once the first stones are laid, Sagittarius, something subtle begins to happen. You start to notice the shape of what you're building. At first, it's just a low outline, barely visible against the landscape of your life. But as you continue to choose yourself, to protect your peace, the walls begin to rise. And here's the truth that often surprises people. Boundaries are not about shutting the world out. They're about deciding what and who you allow in. Think of your inner kingdom as a sacred garden. Without walls, anything can wander in, wild animals, careless footsteps, even weeds that choke the life from what you're growing. But when you build a wall, you're not saying never enter. You're saying, enter through the gate, with respect for what lives here. That gate is your discernment, your ability to choose. Astrologically, this stage often aligns with transits that test your ability to hold firm. When the sun or personal planets move through your opposite sign, Gemini, situations arise that challenge your boundaries. People may push back against the changes you're making. They may say you've changed, that you're cold, that you're shutting them out. This is where Sagittarius must remember. Healthy boundaries are not cruelty. They are clarity. I recall a Sagittarius man named Elias who had spent years being the reliable one. He was the friend who answered calls at 2 a.m., the coworker who covered shifts without question, the partner who always gave more than he received. But when he began therapy and realized how drained he felt, he started saying no. First it was small, turning down an extra project at work. Then it became bigger, declining to host gatherings when he needed rest. At first people reacted badly. Some drifted away entirely. But over time, the relationships that remained became richer, more balanced. His walls didn't isolate him. They filtered out what no longer belonged. Boundaries also shift the way you see yourself. Without them, you may confuse tolerance with love, thinking that to accept everything is to be kind. But kindness without discernment can become self-abandonment. Your fourth house, which governs your inner sanctuary, cannot thrive if the doors are always left open to storms. When you choose to close a door, you are not rejecting the person outside. You are honoring the peace inside. Building these walls is an act of conscious choice. Some bricks are made from lessons in trust, like the time you learned that someone's apology didn't match their actions. Others are made from moments you reclaimed your time, like leaving a party early when you sensed your energy fading, or choosing solitude over forced company. Each decision is a brick in the wall, each one strengthening the boundary between what nourishes you and what depletes you. There is also a spiritual dimension here. Jupiter, your ruling planet, loves to expand and connect, but without boundaries, expansion can become overextension. Think of it as managing the gates of a great city. A thriving city welcomes trade, visitors, and ideas, but it also protects its resources. It checks who comes in, ensuring that the city's wealth, your time, your energy, your love, is invested wisely. One of the hardest parts of this gate is resisting the urge to explain or justify your walls. You might feel guilty when someone says you've changed, or uncomfortable when you sense their disappointment. But boundaries do not need to be defended to everyone. They only need to be honored by you. The more you live them, the more natural they become, until they are simply the structure of your life. And here's the magic. Once the walls stand tall, they begin to work for you. They keep out what drains you without constant effort. They create a sense of safety that allows you to be more open, more present, more generous with the right people. You can let your guard down inside the walls because you know the walls themselves are guarding you. There's a moment, often unspoken, when you look around and realize, not everyone has the right to walk into my life anymore. Not because I'm closed off, but because I've learned that my peace is precious. Access to my heart, my time, my presence, that is a privilege, not a default setting. Sagittarius, this is the stage where your kingdom starts to feel real. The foundation you built in Gate 1 now supports walls that make you feel both protected and empowered. You are no longer a wanderer in an open field, vulnerable to every passing storm. You are a ruler walking the perimeter of your own realm, knowing exactly who and what you welcome inside. And as we move to the next gate, we'll step beyond the walls, into the heart of the kingdom itself, the great halls of self-respect, where your true power begins to shine from within. Gate 3, the halls of self-respect. Once the walls of boundaries stand firm, something profound begins to awaken inside you, Sagittarius. You step through the gates of your own making and find yourself in a vast sunlit hall. This is the hall of self-respect, a space you may not have entered in a very long time, or perhaps ever. The air here is lighter. Your footsteps echo in a way that makes you aware of your own presence, your own worth. For the first time, you feel you are not just surviving within your kingdom, you are living in it. Self-respect is not loud. It does not demand applause. It is the quiet knowing that your value does not depend on who notices it, praises it, or validates it. It is the understanding that your worth is inherent, unshakable, and cannot be diminished by someone else's inability to see it. And here's the thing. Self-respect changes the way you carry yourself. It shapes the way you speak, the way you make decisions, the way you love. Astrologically, this is where Jupiter, your ruling planet, comes into full expression. Jupiter expands what it touches, and when it turns inward, it magnifies your inner sense of value. You begin to see the connection between your inner world and your outer reality. The more you honor yourself, the more the world seems to respond in kind. Opportunities appear that match your energy. People treat you with the same level of respect you give yourself. I once worked with a Sagittarius artist named Layla. For years, she accepted commissions that paid far below her worth, convincing herself it was better to be busy than to demand fair compensation. When she began building her walls of boundaries, she also started asking a simple but life-changing question. If I respected myself fully, what would I choose? At first, the answer terrified her. It meant turning down offers, potentially upsetting clients, and risking slower months. But over time, her confidence grew. She raised her prices. She stopped apologizing for her standards. And within a year, she was attracting clients who valued her work and treated her time with care. Her outer reality had rearranged itself to mirror her self-respect. The hall of self-respect is also where you reclaim your voice. Before, you may have softened your opinions, dimmed your excitement, or stayed silent to keep the peace. Now, you speak because you know your truth has weight. You express joy without shrinking, set limits without shame, and share your ideas without fear of being too much. In this hall, there is room for all of you, the curious seeker, the fiery dreamer, the wise philosopher that Sagittarius was born to be. But this hall is not without its tests. Self-respect will sometimes require you to make choices that others don't understand. You may walk away from friendships that no longer feel reciprocal, decline invitations that pull you away from your priorities, or refuse to compromise on values that once felt negotiable. It can be lonely at times, but this loneliness is not the same as emptiness. It is space. Space for the right people, the right opportunities, the right experiences to enter. Spiritually, this is where your 4th house and 10th house work together in harmony. The 4th house has given you the inner security to stand tall. The 10th house now invites you to show the world who you are without bending to fit someone else's mold. You are building a legacy, Sagittarius, And that legacy is rooted in the integrity of how you treat yourself. There's a shift that happens when self-respect becomes non-negotiable. You stop over-explaining your boundaries. You stop chasing after those who cannot meet you where you are. You stop measuring your value against someone else's approval. And without even trying, you begin to inspire others, not by telling them what to do, but by showing them what's possible when you choose yourself fully. I've seen this happen countless times. A Sagittarius who once struggled to leave a draining relationship finally walks away, not out of anger, but out of love for themselves. Another who once feared speaking up at work starts contributing bold ideas, leading projects, and earning the respect of peers and leaders alike. These are not small changes, they are structural shifts in how you inhabit your own life. In the hall of self-respect, you realize that your worth was never lost. It was simply buried under years of compromise, people-pleasing, and self-doubt. Now, as light pours through the windows, you see yourself clearly. And you know that from here on, every decision will be made from this place of clarity and strength. This is the heart of your kingdom. And as we move forward, we will step into its highest point, the throne of peace, where your self-respect becomes not just a private strength, but a public, unshakable presence. Gate for the throne of peace. There comes a moment in every Sagittarius journey when the noise fades. The battles you once fought, internally and externally, lose their urgency. The opinions you once feared no longer carry weight. The need to prove, to convince, to defend yourself dissolves. And what remains is something so rare, so precious, it feels almost like a secret. Peace. This is the throne of peace, the highest point in your kingdom, and it is not reached by conquering others. It is reached by mastering yourself. Picture it. At the center of your inner realm there is a throne. Not grand in a showy way, but regal in its simplicity. It is carved from the stones of your resilience, polished by the patience you've cultivated, and set upon the solid foundation you've built through years of trial and growth. When you sit upon it, you do not look out at the world with suspicion or fear. You look out with clarity. You see where you have been, and you understand why it had to be that way. Astrologically, this is where your 10th house comes alive. Traditionally associated with career and public life, the 10th house also represents your legacy, what you will leave behind in the hearts and minds of others. The throne of peace is the place from which you lead your life with intention, wisdom, and grace. You have already done the hard work of building boundaries and self-respect. Now you simply live them. This stage reminds me of a Sagittarius woman named Marin. For years she was entangled in family drama, feeling obligated to mediate every argument, smooth over every tension, and hold everyone together. When she began her inner work, she realized that peace does not come from controlling outcomes. It comes from releasing what is not hers to carry. Slowly she stepped back. She no longer inserted herself into conflicts unless invited, and even then, only if it felt right. At first, she feared she was abandoning her family, but what happened instead was remarkable. Her relationships improved because she was showing up from a place of choice, not obligation. Her peace became the anchor others naturally gravitated toward. This throne does not make you untouchable to pain. It makes you unshaken by chaos. It is not the absence of challenges, but the presence of inner stillness that allows you to meet those challenges without losing yourself. This is a distinctly Sagittarian strength, to see life as a vast landscape, with each storm just a small part of a greater horizon. Mars may fuel your courage, Jupiter your optimism, Saturn your discipline, but at the throne of peace, these energies blend into something softer yet stronger: equanimity. You begin to understand that you don't have to react to everything. You don't have to fight every battle. You can choose where to place your energy and, more importantly, where not to. The throne of peace also changes the way you interact with others. You no longer see people as threats to your well-being, nor as saviors who will deliver you from hardship. You see them as fellow travelers, each with their own path, their own lessons. From this vantage point, you can love without clinging, support without controlling, and care without draining yourself. There's a paradox here. The more at peace you become, the more powerful you feel. Not the kind of power that dominates, but the kind that radiates. People sense it. They feel safer around you, not because you protect them from the world, but because you embody a steadiness they crave for themselves. Your kingdom is not just for you anymore. It becomes a sanctuary for those who are ready to respect its walls and walk its halls. Spiritually, the throne of peace is a reminder of why you built this kingdom in the first place. The 4th house gave you the roots, the safety, the healing space. The 10th house now invites you to share that stability in ways that extend beyond yourself. Through your work, your art, your presence, even your silence. Your life itself becomes a testament to the fact that peace is possible, even in a turbulent world. And perhaps the most beautiful truth of this gate is this. Once you've sat on the throne of peace, you know it was never about escaping the world. It was about creating a place within yourself that nothing and no one can take away. A place where your joy, your clarity, and your sense of self remain intact no matter what storms pass overhead. When you rise from the throne and move through your days, you carry that peace with you. It informs your choices, softens your words, strengthens your resolve. And because peace is contagious, you find yourself sparking it in others, sometimes without even knowing it. Sagittarius, you may not have realized it when you began this journey, but you were never just surviving. You were constructing a realm that reflects your deepest values, and at its center is the calm, steady seat of your own sovereignty. This is the throne you built without fanfare, without applause, but with every choice that honored who you are. And here in this stillness you are free. Conclusion: the hidden builder. You may not have known it, Sagittarius, but every step you took, every no you spoke in defense of your peace, every time you chose healing over chaos, was part of a larger design. You were not wandering aimlessly through hardship. You were laying bricks, raising walls, shaping halls, and preparing a throne. And now when you look around, you see what you've built. A kingdom rooted in self-respect, guarded by boundaries and crowned with peace. Astrologically, this is the harmony of Saturn's discipline and Jupiter's expansion. A blend of structure and freedom that allows you to live in alignment with your truest self. This kingdom is not for show, it is for you. It's a home for your spirit, a place where you can rest, create, dream, and lead without losing yourself. And here's the truth. You are not just a survivor, you are a builder. The strength you carry is not the kind that burns bright for a moment and fades. It is the enduring strength of stone, the quiet resilience of something built to last. This is your legacy, not just for the world to see, but for your own soul to inhabit. So guard it well, honor it, invite in only those who respect its sacred ground, and know that every new chapter you step into will rest on this unshakable foundation. If this journey has spoken to you, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to Zodiac Wisdom, so together we can keep uncovering the ways the stars guide us to build not just lives but legacies.